How's it going, everyone? This is Maximilian bringing you part 4 of the Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 gameplay breakdown. So let's move this thing along. Once again, you're going to be watching part 4 of footage from Evolution 2011 and the playable build of the latest Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And from this footage, there's going to be quite a few different character varieties that I'm going to cover. I think there's some Firebrand in here and there's some Hawkeye. But in general, I wanted to cover some overall feelings about Ultimate Marvel 3. Usually when you have a updated version of a game like this, there's a chance that it might feel quite different from the original title. And I was really worried about that happening with Ultimate Marvel 3 from regular MVC 3. I thought the game was going to be completely different, and it wasn't going to be familiar, and it was going to be odd and controlled different, but I was surprised to realize that that's not the case. If anything, this is very similar to how they treated Street Fighter 4 to Super Street Fighter 4. And in that case, if you guys aren't aware, Super Street Fighter 4 was pretty much just like Street Fighter 4 in a lot of regards. It was just a more balanced experience. And from that, I think I was expecting things along the lines of, crazy wall bounces, and I kind of wanted Super Street Fighter 4 to be Street Fighter Cross Tekken, but it wasn't. It was a more finely tuned and honed experience than the original Street Fighter 4 was. And that seems to be the case with Ultimate Marvel 3 as well. If you're familiar with how things work in the original Marvel vs. Capcom 3, you will do just fine. There is no need to worry about this game being completely different. Most combos that you do are still going to work. For some cases, like some characters, you might have to change the variety a little bit because overall, some of the hits done for moves has changed, some of the overall damage for special moves and other moves has changed, and there'll be more effective combos for you to pull off now. So it's that's kind of a good thing. You'll get a chance to see maybe a little bit more variety in combos instead of the same bread and butters and the same usual stuff. Dante's a character that might have been hit pretty hard in regards to the hit stun decay because a lot of his entryway into combos, like how he began his combos, were pretty similar. And in this game, you kind of have to change that up a little bit. You kind of have to go back to some basics then, instead of keeping things super fancy. But, I mean, Dante's still really good. Like, it's kind of crazy that Dante's moves before, he was able to cancel one move by doing a special into another special move to get a different special move. So doing things like the Acid Rain loop and doing things like the Killer Bee, I think that's what it's called, are much easier now because instead of doing like 2 Shoryuken motions with a button, it's just one motion with a button and then you press the button one more time. And surprisingly, I didn't realize this. I didn't realize Dante got way easier to play by getting that move, and I was accidentally getting moves and I was like, whoa, that should not have come out at all. But it makes him just more accessible, I guess, because that is a pretty big execution barrier for a lot of players if they can't pull that off. And it does take a lot of getting used to. I mean, if you want to pull off some of the more hardcore stuff that Dante has, it takes quite a bit of practice and quite a bit of muscle memory to get used to pulling that stuff off. But in general, the game feels a lot like Marvel vs. Capcom 3. The newer characters do feel unique and they don't feel like old cast members, so that's a real good thing. And the old cast members feel like fresh in a way. Like the entire game feels like it might have been a little tuned, and in some ways I was thinking that, man, it feels like some of the characters are slower, but to be honest, that's probably some of the input lag on the TVs. So it's really hard to say if that's like a final judgment, and I won't make that call. But we're going up against some Firebrand right now, and Firebrand was the character that initially got me really worried. I was kind of scared when you first saw him. His character vignette and his the other information regarding Firebrand was pretty daunting. It's like, wow, you're giving this guy all these tools. Like, how are we going to stop him? And the more I started playing Ultimate Marvel 3, the more I realized that Firebrand is going to be a really good character. He's not going to be bad by any means, and I think he'll be very tournament viable, which I hope a majority of the other cast that wasn't before does become in this game. But he's good. But he's not as scary as I thought he was going to be. There are some things that are really good about him. He has a lot of mobility options, and he has like projectile options and an amazing move that drags you from like one corner of the screen practically to the other. It's super good, and it's great for mixing things up. The big problem is when you see all these new characters, a lot of the more the more specific attributes that make them amazing and make them really good later down the line are things like mix-up potential and ability, and how good do they have the chance to put you in like a real ambiguous situation. And when you're playing a preview build like this with a bunch of people, you just want to win, and it's kind of hard to set up those situations. As you can see really quickly, Deadpool's poking or standing light still works really good as an anti-air, and it's just as effective as Magneto's. The other character I wanted to touch on that I think is absolutely shocking that he's receiving buffs is Dr. Doom. And I'm a big Doom fan, kinda, and it's scary to see that Dr. Doom is actually going to become more powerful in this game, because Doom did not have any reason to get nerfed or buffed in Ultimate Marvel 3. I think he was really good just the way he was, and he actually got a few things. More notably, his new jumping special, or jumping S, now causes a ground bounce, which is real scary. We'll see how that goes. But all of his corner loops, like all the Doom relaunches, all that stuff was still fully functional and completely there. And I really couldn't find stuff that I could do, that I could do before and I couldn't do now. So Doom's still really good. Plasma Beam Assist is amazing. I think that's better for a character like Strider than Hidden Missiles, unless you have another character that can do a good beam assist and then you use Hidden Missiles. But nonetheless, yeah, the guy's great. It's kind of shocking. Other than that, I wanted to highlight one of the last remaining characters that, in my opinion, I think is going to be the sleeper character in the roster right now. I can't say much about any other character currently because they haven't shown anything yet, and I don't want to say anything about characters that haven't been shown, nor do we know. But I'm got this funny feeling that Hawkeye is going to be the sleeper top tier that not many people are using. The problem is that there was a few guys using Hawkeye, and there was a few guys messing around with him. But I was seeing some stuff that seemed extremely powerful. Things in regards to mobility, things in regards to range and projectiles, and stuff that he does that's kind of similar to Taskmaster, that that make him similar to Taskmaster, but at the same time give him a lot more, and from first glance, a lot more opportunity to be effective and a lot more options as a character. It's pretty crazy to see when Hawkeye has these moves that I think they're command specials that move him across the ground very fast, where he like flips to one side of the screen and shoots arrows. I'd have to look back and check on that, but if you're able to put like assists in between that, and you're able to properly use Hawkeye with effective assists, that seems extremely hard to block some of that stuff, and it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy to see a character right off the bat that I'm like, that's really good. I wish I had some footage of it immediately right now, but I don't. And I'm just gonna call it right now. I'm gonna say Hawkeye is probably one of the more interesting characters right now in the cast, and I wasn't expecting it at all. And he actually might end up being one of the better ones overall. But the thing I'm really excited about, and I can't wait till there's actually like if there's a strategy guide for this game when it comes out, is to go over all the absolutely insane status element stuff that's going to be available for Hawkeye. And that's where a lot of his game is going to be. It's going to be in the status changing stuff, and how he can actually affect you and weight you down and cause slow. And I think he's even got an arrow that you can shoot up, and it sits on the ground, and it sits there for like a couple of seconds, and then it explodes. So you can actually set up traps of all kinds. Throw in assists with that, and you have a tricky character. I think he might actually be, in my opinion, one of the trickiest characters in the game with all those tools. It just gets to the point where he's kind of like Dante. You have to remember that he has all those tools available, and once you get used to using him and you realize that he's got all this at his disposal, go nuts. It's going to be real crazy when you get guys that are super good with Hawkeye. At least I hope. From initial impressions, it certainly seems that way. As you can see right here, I'm repeatedly trying to pick up after an OTG with Strider with his down forward fierce, which is his kind of sliding kick on the ground. And every single time I do it, I call Doom or Dante, and it seems it's unable to pick the character up afterwards to continue a combo. So It's an easy bit of extra damage and a good ability to mix up, but you can't actually extend it in this build. So, with that being said, I'm thinking that Strider's OTG mix-up ability is probably best with Satellite into Explosion, or Satellite into the Fireball. I'm trying to do a little bit of an extended Dante combo here, and I totally woof it up, but just trying to get a better perspective of what Dante can pull off on his combos instead of going back to really old day one bread and butters, which is actually what I was doing for a really long time. I just recently learned a lot of Dante's bold cancel, full bold cancel combos where you can do them from anywhere in the screen, and those can be really effective, and I hope he doesn't lose the majority of them in Ultimate Marvel 3 because of the different hit stun scaling. Captain America is also another character that's going to be, I think, viable now. They gave him a double jump. I think one of his shield slashes actually off the grounds now, so that's a little crazy. And we do get to see a little bit of Hawkeye. I don't know if we're going to get to see that much, but I'm really excited. I think the 4 characters that have been announced so far are really interesting. They all feel diverse, and at the moment, there's not one that I don't want to play. Hawkeye, I was concerned with at first, but he seems like a ton of fun. And I think at the end here, I give the guy a chance to test out something really quick so you can see how his level 3 works. That's going to just about do it for right now. I hope you guys enjoyed this latest episode of the Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 gameplay breakdown, and I'll be back tomorrow with Part 5, the final episode and gameplay footage from EVO 2011. Until then, have a good one, folks. Take care.